Hello everyone, my name is Rose Thiga, and I decided to start a series of conversations around shaping the Africa that we want. Today I'm joined by Njeri Wagacha. Njeri is a dual qualified bilingual corporate partner at CDH Kenya. She runs the podcast Njeri Talks Law and is a foodie, choosing to share her recipes on her Instagram handle, Foodie in Nairobi. Njeri, welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Rose. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so first of all, what do you mean by dual qualified?
Dual qualified means that I'm qualified not only to practice in the UK, but I'm also qualified to practice in Kenya.
Okay.
So it's just an added bonus.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. And bilingual, what languages do you speak?
So I speak fluent French and I speak fluent English. In fact, I learned French before I learned English. So
wow.
You wouldn't be able to tell, but yes, bilingual.
Amazing. Okay, so how did Njeri learn French first?
So I was born in Switzerland, and then we moved to France, and then we moved to Senegal. And Senegal is where I grew up for the majority of the time, and Senegal is French speaking, so obviously I went to French school.
Okay, yeah. Wow, amazing. Yeah. That was a lot of moving in your childhood.
Yeah, it was a lot of moving at the beginning, but we were in Senegal for 9 years, so that was the bulk of my growing up was in Senegal, and so it felt like home, and we used to come to Kenya to visit, so Senegal was really where I grew up.
Interesting. Yeah, that's amazing that you have both the West Africa growing up experience as well as now East Africa.
Yeah, which is incredibly different, and it's something that I really wish, I hope that my children can have the same type of experience. So you learn, to be global rather than just insular, and just a member of the world as opposed to just Kenyan.
So what was it like growing up in Senegal for 9 years?
It's just, when you're a child, you're just a child, right? But it was a French school. It was very strict. It was a girls' school. It was a uniform. It was Catholic as well, which we are not. So it was, you could either choose between Catholic and Muslim because, Senegal does both, but there wasn't that idea of an Anglican church. It was a very strict, formal education, I think. But at the same time, we were kids. We had fun. We were by the beach, family time, a lot of family time, and I think really close family time because we were the only ones there. We didn't have cousins or, wider family in Senegal. So it was my mom, my dad, my sisters, and my brother, who eventually came along.
Okay, and reflecting back on, being a tight, close-knit family, what values would you say, were imparted in you by your parents that you still carry to this day?
So many. From my mom's never wear torn underwear to bed in case there's a fire and then you have to run, to really having dinners together, having lunch, that formal kind of, we all sit down together at a table. I think that was a really good breeding ground for not only family conversations, but just being close to someone and being able to share with them. Certainly hard work. I saw both my parents as professionals working extremely hard, and knowing that they had a goal. So I never saw my mom as, she was never a housewife. She was working, she had her own ambitions as well as my dad, and he supported that. So she would travel outside of the country for her work, and he would be the one at home with us for 2 weeks. In those days, it wasn't like you could go on a business trip for 4 days and come back. It was an extended period of time. And then he would be away and then she would be home. So really a mutual respect for each other's careers and the benefit of hard work and what it can give you, so the ability to live a nice and comfortable life and provide for your children in the best way you can. That's exactly what I hope to do myself.
Wow, that's a really good story. Yeah, your dad is definitely one of the progressive ones, particularly
he's a feminist, completely, and he had 3 girls first before the boy came along. So he treated us like, tomboys. So we're not expected to go cry wolf, we're very much, be your own person, work hard, you're on the same terms as everyone else. In fact, my mom, there's a famous picture with us with a t-shirt that says anything boys can do, girls can do better. And that was really, the summary of what my parents' thinking was in terms of our ability and what we could do in the world.
And how do you think that shapes the way you see the world today?
I think I've never really been one of those people who says, oh, I can't do this, or it's impossible for me to do this, or what is the barrier, or there is a barrier and I see it. I always push, and I've always pushed for everything that I've wanted, as difficult as it may be, as as difficult as seeming as or impossible facing the task is. I've always pushed to get what I want in the world, and it's tiring, but it has worked out. So for example, when I applied to be a trainee in London, I knew that the chances of me as a Kenyan being accepted as a trainee to qualify as a solicitor in London was going to be slim to none. I did 100 applications, sent them in, and I only got three offers in the end. And even getting to the offer stage is an amazing feat for anyone who's planning to be a qualified solicitor. And then getting to the interview stage and getting the training contract. For me, that was the culmination of if you push hard enough and you know what you want, at the end you will get it. And so probably that's one of my greatest achievements, is just being able to say I'm qualified in London, which is very, anyone who has gone through the process will know is a very difficult task for someone who's not even coming from the country, from the UK.
Oh, that's amazing. So maybe for the audience, just to contextualize, the path in the legal profession in the UK and why that was such an amazing achievement for you.
So basically, you go to university for 4 years, do your degree, and then after that there's a qualifying stage for becoming a solicitor. So you can do the route of going to graduate law school, and then look for a training contract in order for you to qualify, because without the training contract is really meaningless. You're not a qualified lawyer. Or you can look for a law firm to take you on as a trainee, and then they pay for your law school, and then after you finish, you then start immediately working for them and become qualified with them. So they support your law school and your career path from then on. And so obviously getting that foot in is much easier, because you don't have the expenditure of having to pay for your own law school and then looking for a training contract, which is much more difficult. And also they take pupils 2 years in advance, and so you're starting to look at a place where people who have just come out of university will also be in the same position. At the same time, qualifying as a lawyer, the course, I think at the time, it expires within 5 years. So if you don't get the training contract within 5 years, you have to start again, because it's no longer valid. So they keep refreshing it. And so there's a definite timeline between which you have to get that. And so for me to be able to get that, it's a hurdle. It's a real hurdle for everyone. But I felt it particularly for me, because it would have meant different things than an English person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And how did you decide to study law, or
I think I've always had the feeling of I didn't like unfairness. I don't like things being prejudicial. I don't like the feeling of being powerless. I need to empower myself and empower others, and I've always felt that way. So it was just a natural progression of learning legal concepts at a very early age, understanding why it is that the world is the way that it is, and then being able to participate in that conversation in a very concrete way. So for me, it's very important that any client that comes through my door feels as if they have power within their hands, or someone is representing them in a way that they want. So they're not voiceless and powerless. And although I'm a corporate lawyer and people can say, oh, you're a shark, you're the worst of the worst, all of those legal jokes, we actually do a lot of pro bono work to support people who don't have the ability to pay for their own legal services, just because we want to give them that voice and because we believe in causes that are outside of even our remit. And so the combination of the ability to give power to the powerless and also participate in the conversation. I mean, for me, it's just I think anyone who knows me knows it's a natural. It's the natural career that I should have had, that I chose.
Yeah, I agree. More on that later.
Yeah.
So you qualify as a solicitor in the UK. You're working in a high-powered
in the city.
Yes. How do you find your way back to the continent?
So again, it was it's something that I guess we'll revisit. The theme being, you need to take your destiny into your own hands. When we qualified as solicitors, the recession happened, or the recession had just happened, and so the ability for law firms to take people on or continue carrying junior lawyers. Obviously, first there's a concept of first in, last in, first out, and so the ability for them to carry us on was limited. And being as I'm the one who's an immigrant, why would they retain me? So the uncertainty of that situation led me to think, well, you're not qualified. You're qualified in the UK, but you're not qualified in Kenya. So come back and qualify in Kenya, and then decide whether you want to go back. You already have the qualification. You've gotten what you want. So I decided, let me come back to Kenya. And my thought process was, it will take me a minimum of 2 years to qualify, because I thought I had to go to law school, and then come back. And when you're young, you have the world is your oyster. And when I came back, within 6 months, I was qualified, because they exempted me from the requirement to go to law school. I got a job at the #1 law firm in the country, and I started working on transactions I had never even fathomed being able to handle, simply because I'm in Africa, and the deals that are in Africa are so big, or the deals that we were able to get were so big. So telecom deals covering 14 countries, or power project deals, in Kipeto, or whatever it was amazing. Tullow Oil had just come into the country, and they were doing exploration at the time. So all of those things I was like, wow, there's so much going on in this country, and I am at the forefront of being able to work on them. And in London, you could be isolated and work on smaller transactions, but you never really see the big picture, or even lead the transaction, unless you're a very senior lawyer with years of experience. And so the trust that the partners at my previous law firm had in me to be able to work on these deals, and the ability to progress. I mean, I've been here ever since. I've only gone back. So it really worked out. It really worked out the way that it should. And I never went back. I just go to London on holiday now.
Oh wow! And actually, that's how you and I met. And
Yes.
You were supporting me on a transaction.
Yes.
And I just remember thinking, like, wow, this lady is so kick-ass. Like, okay, yeah, she's not a partner at this law firm, but she's like, guys, this is how we are moving, this is the plan. And I just remember, being like, I love being managed in this way. Because I know exactly what's coming and what to expect.
And the reason why I was able to interact with you face to face is because the partner that was managing the transaction actually had a lot of faith in my ability to do that, and was entrusting me with your work. And it's something that may not happen in bigger markets like London, developed markets, where someone who's more junior would never be able to actually interface with the client. You'd be in the back doing the work, but not client facing, pushing the paper as it were. So that ability, and really to manage a transaction and feel as if I'm handling clients at that level, and then successfully making the share transfer. It was a share transfer, correct? And then celebrating at the end. I remember we had champagne. It was lovely. It was really good, and it was my transaction, I felt.
Yeah, it really was. Thank you. You led it so well.
Yeah.
So I guess if we think about your career in that context, I don't think it's unfathomable that you've ended up where you are right now. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about CDH Kenya and the journey from your transition from your prior law firm to where you are now.
Okay, so one of the lessons that I think for everyone, and I always tell people, is when you meet people, in whatever context you meet them, and you form a relationship, maintain your relationships, or try your best to maintain relationships, because you never know what windows they will open for you. So for example, with my transition from my previous law firm, I had met a partner who's now my partner, my managing partner, on a transaction. He was opposing counsel to me. So really an adversarial role, or it should be an adversarial role, because we are on opposite sides of each other. But we actually really got along, and we really made the clients very happy. We successfully did the transaction. Everyone went home, but we maintained a friendship. And when he started his practice and ventured out on his own from his own big law firm, I was admiring him, and I was thinking, this is so great. How could you take that risk? And he was like, I'm determined to make it on my own merit. I will do it. And every year that I saw him grow and develop, I was amazed. And then in 2020, we had lunch, as we usually do, and he was like, Njeri, I think it's time for you to come and join me. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, I think, I'm going to talk to you about it more seriously, come and join. So I was like, oh, okay. Then the COVID happened. So when COVID happened, I think, again, at critical moments, you need to re-examine what you're doing and where you are in life. And I thought to myself, with COVID and with where am I positioning myself post-COVID? What is my career going to look like? Am I still going to be a senior associate in a law firm? What am I going to do? And so I decided to just take the risk. It was a calculated risk, because at the same time I knew that the conversations had been started with CDH, which is a South African law firm, and so it was really a chance for me to get in on the ground level and also see how negotiations happen at a bigger internal level and start managing that process. And so I joined Kieti, I joined Sami in November 2020, and then by April CDH, we had merged with CDH, and just being part of those conversations. I don't think Sami ever realizes how he's given us such breadth of knowledge about managing a law firm, which is something I would never even have thought that I would be doing. So it's not only managing a law firm, but managing a business and being a partner within that business. So it's been a great learning lesson for me. And a chance to be a partner and a shareholder in a business is something that if anyone can do it, do it, because you are then really in charge of your own destiny, and you care much more because it's actually your business and not you're not just an employee. Although, to be fair, I never acted as an employee in my previous job, as you well know.
So talk to us about Njeri Talks Law. What inspired you to start that podcast?
I really am fascinated by people's stories, just like you. I'm also fascinated to understand what's behind people's motives. A lot of the time in my practice, I meet opposing counsel or advisors who we may talk in a formal, very corporate environment, and I don't really understand who they are as people. And I've always wanted to know, why can't I ask the question? And sometimes it's not the appropriate time to ask those questions. So I wanted to do a podcast, and I really am interested in topics of law and in broadening people's understanding of law. And who are the people to do that? The practitioners themselves, in an informal way, in a way that people can really understand, right? It's interesting for me. So I don't know about the audience, but I love it. And I find it fascinating when I listen to someone who in their normal day job is a tax advisor and in the evening is a Sunday school teacher. You know what I mean? Right. You don't really know people's what people do in the background, or went to seminary school and then thought, let me become a lawyer instead. All of those things are so interesting, the different journeys to the legal career. And then the dissemination of information, understanding concepts and asking questions that you wouldn't normally get an answer to in that formal environment. So it's something that I think I really enjoy. Clients seem to enjoy it, people seem to enjoy it, and so it's something I care very deeply about, maintaining the ability to be informal with people who normally you should only be formal.
Yeah, I definitely think you're hitting the right balance there.
Yeah.
I'm halfway through your latest episode with regard to the finance bill and everything, and I thought that was actually quite timely.
Yes.
And relevant for the business community. So
yes, and the ability to get PwC to talk on a podcast like that is something I don't take for granted. My relationships, again, it's based on the relationship that we built over working together, and leveraging on those relationships has been important to me. And so, always maintain your relationships.
Great. And so, speaking of fun, of people that are multi-dimensional, besides a podcast, what else do you do for fun?
So, I do a lot of things for fun. I could be very partial to a glass of wine, as you know. But I love cooking, and it's something I'm very passionate about. It's actually something I didn't even know that I was skillful at. I just do it because I like it. And then everyone always said, my friends always were like, Njeri, you really can cook, And also, people don't think I can cook because I'm a lawyer and I'm corporate, and they think, what time do you have to cook? But it's actually a distraction for me. And so I started doing, a small Instagram, kind of blog just to showcase the food that I cook. And I cook it for my friends and my family, and it's something fun. So I want to develop that more. It's a passion project for me. But I also run. I like running. People don't think that I run. Yes, I run, and I'm quite partial to the gym and dancing as well. So, yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I can do a twerk. Even saying it like that sounds like I can't do.
And I think one of the things I've always learned from you is, apart from obviously taking your destiny into your own hands, I think you and I have had many conversations about no one is coming to save us, we are our own saviors.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and I just wonder, what your influences are from, like what books do you read, what does your daily routine look like to kind of keep that strength and perseverance.
Okay, so I'm not, there are those people who are very like, I read this person, or I'm very much into this yoga, or I'm not one. I do everything. Like, you can find me Malcolm Gladwelling, you can find me on TikTok following this lady who does impressions of Ghanaian accents, comedy. I just absorb everything. But what the theme that runs across everything is bettering yourself, and also taking chances, and also learning that no man is an island, and so working together. And those are the themes that I keep seeing across all of the readings that I do, and those are the mantras that I keep. So, for example, on a daily basis, connecting with people, my friends, making sure that checking in on people, doing small acts of kindness, I think is a huge thing for me, because you never know what someone is going through. And then being supportive of my team, obviously. So the little things that I do and check off on I have a to-do list, and that to-do list has got maybe 10 items that are permanently on there, and will remain on there. And then everything changes in between. But the 10 things are things that I prioritize in terms of making sure I'm wellnessing myself, and wellnessing others.
So speaking of team, how big is your team at CDH?
So we're about 15 lawyers, 5 of whom are partners, so 5 partners and 10 lawyers. Okay. But I think we've tripled in the time that I've been there since the merger with CDH, and we're growing at the same time. We've now taken on 5 pupils as well, who are young lawyers. We were in the same position as me 8 years, 10 years ago, whatever time it was. And so we're nurturing them as well. And it's a real change for me to be the person in charge. Yeah? You feel like you're the real grown up now, and making sure that they're nurtured, well-fed, well-read, healthy and happy. And that responsibility is something that I take extremely seriously as well. I mentor some younger lawyers, and that relationship between a mentee and mentor for me is one of friendship and one of guidance and one of understanding, and I take that extremely seriously.
Okay. So what advice would you give young lawyers who are looking at you and thinking, I want to be Njeri in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I would say that it takes a lot of hard work. I think a lot of people think that it's you click your fingers and it's done. There's a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of nights where you don't know whether you're coming or going, weekends that have been ruined because of work, holidays that have been ruined because of work, friendships that may have been on the brink because of work. But really the end goal is to be as skillful as you can in the practice of law for me. And you can only gain that skill by doing it and by reading and by understanding what it is that the client wants and what outcomes are possible for them to achieve. And if they can't, if the realm of the law does not allow, how can I cross that barrier for them? Because you're the person who really is the master at your craft, yeah? And no one else will come and save you from that. No one else is going to teach you something. You have to do the work yourself. And for any young lawyer looking to find a shortcut, if you're looking for shortcuts in law, just don't do it. There are no shortcuts. You have to read and understand. You know, there's a reason why the first year of law school, you have to read judgments by, the Lord Dennings and etc., which were made, years before you were even, decades before you were born, because they set a precedent. And the detail that goes into that kind of judgment is exactly what we should strive to have, that depth of understanding of the law, to be able to give that same level of judgment or the same amount of detail to a client. That's what I strive for, and I'm still striving for it today. So it's never finished. And so if you're looking for a shortcut from day one, don't bother. You would be able to sustain it.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. You and I have had many late night phone calls.
Very late night phone calls.
Work related.
But you're the same. And I think anyone who is very passionate about their work is the same way. So when I'm talking to you at 11 o'clock at night and it's on work, it's because we're both caring about our businesses. And I like that, because it shows that you're as engaged as I am, and I care about the outcome for your business as well.
Obviously the theme of the show is shaping the Africa we want. And just reflecting on your journey overall, but particularly the last few months, transitioning to CDH Kenya. How do you see yourself contributing to that? Yeah,
it's such a good question for me, especially at the moment, because when we merged with CDH, one of the things that we wanted to bring forward, because CDH is a South African law firm, this is the first time they're coming into the African continent. And even as we were in the negotiations, you can see that there are clear differences between the way things are done in South Africa and the way things are done in Kenya, and then globally. And what we wanted to do is say, where can we bring that one-stop shop aspect to legal services for our clients, and where can we bridge the gap? So for example, my work is cross-border, so I want to bridge East Africa and West Africa, because I speak French and because I understand how West Africa works, and I've got connections there. How can we bridge that gap and make sure that we're giving holistic legal services? And within those legal services, some countries will have a less developed legal services than others, or the law will not have been developed enough in one country versus another, or we can all learn from each other. And I want to be able to identify, in Senegal the law says this and there's a reason for that. In Kenya it says this and this is what we have followed. Historically it could even be because of the Commonwealth and because of our English heritage. But are both of them, which one is working for us, or which one can work going forward, so that we're ameliorating legal services and being thought leaders for Africa in legal services, not just doing the day-to-day, but really pushing the boundary. Yeah, if there isn't a mergers and acquisition or corporate company law dealing with a merger and a competition issue or something in Ivory Coast, why isn't there? And is it something that we should look at? If there is it too restrictive? Are they looking at dominance? Are they looking at compliance? Are consumers protected? And it's coming to the fore because we have the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement coming in. that continental agreement has already been signed into law, so it's going to happen, and it's going to mean that laws will more or less become adaptable to Africa itself. And then we just need to look at best practice as well. So there's a lot of work to be done to make sure that international best practice, or even what we will now call Africa best practice, is brought to legal services in the best way that we can, in order to make sure that it's working for all of us in Africa.
Wow, I'm really excited for you on that journey.
I am so excited because it's something that I can now take forward myself, and it's something I've always wanted to do, and it's here being handed to me. I really hope we can talk in 5 years and we've developed that. We're further along the road than we are now.
Thank you so much, Njeri, for those wonderful insights. I learned so much from you today, particularly around taking calculated risks and taking your destiny into your own hands. And for everyone out there, there's no shortcut to success. You've got to put in the work.